Hi, I'm Devyn Silvestri. I play quarterback at Newsom High School in Florida, and you're listening to Playmakers Corner.
All right, as you just heard there, on this episode of the Playmakers Corner podcast, we got the legend herself, Devyn Silvestri, chopping it up with us, talking about football. And you know what? Just to give some context here, this was right before her playoff run, actually. In the interview, you'll hear that we were interviewing her actually the day after their game against Robinson, which was one of their only losses against, one of their own great quarterbacks in Sydney Stout, and obviously Robinson was a squad that went on to win their own state title. And so, if you've been listening to this podcast, you already know that we've shouted out Newsom before, and if you follow us on your socials, you know we've shouted out Newsom before, but they did win state after this interview, so it was a great ordeal. And just to share a couple stats from their last two games, including their state game for Devyn Silvestri. Also, quick shout out to their OC over there at Newsom, Anthony Silvestri, who happens to be her pops, for giving us these numbers here. But against Navarre, that was their semifinal game. Devyn won 22 of 32 for 183 yards, 2 touchdowns. She had 9 rushes for 47 yards and a rushing touchdown. And then on defense, she got 2 interceptions. One of those was a pick six. So once again, showing how versatile and how great of a player she is. And then in her last game, in the game that won her state, she went 17 for 24, passing 180 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. She also contributed 7 rushes on 31 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. And she also got 2 interceptions in that game. In that game against Western, they won 20-19 in a close one. And so, just wanted to say those stats there. Huge shout out to Devyn Silvestri. She is the first girl that we've interviewed who plays football and whatnot, and so we are super excited for her future. And we hope to chop it up again after her senior year. But with that being said, enjoy this interview with one of the leaders for Newsom High School and a state champ in Devyn Silvestri.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. Today we have another interview and a very special guest. If you'd like to introduce yourself, who you are, what position you play, and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Devyn Silvestri. I go to Newsom High School in Tampa, Florida, and I play quarterback and safety.
Awesome. Yeah, and you'll learn all about Devyn's game on this episode, but first we kind of ask all of our athletes this same opening question, just to kind of get to know you and the realm of sports. And that question is, what is your favorite sports experience or memory while playing a sport? And this doesn't necessarily have to be just football, but just like any specific experience, whether it was a game or whether it was like an event, just something that like you think of playing sports and that comes to mind.
I would probably say I had a huge tournament for soccer years ago, and I was actually playing goalie. We were in the finals playing against one of the top teams in the state, and we had to go all the way to PKs. And, that was a really big step for me, and we ended up winning, and it was just such a great experience, like having all my teammates like run at me full speed when I like saved the last ball of the game, and it was just something that I'll always remember.
Hey, sounds like successful teams is a part of your sports history, so love that winning attitude and that culture and the ice in the veins. But and then kind of transitioning just a little bit, what's your favorite sport viewing experience? This could be a live game that you attended, or maybe a game that you watched on TV of like your favorite team, or like a big memory or something like that.
I mean, I would have to say going to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning live at their stadium is probably the most electric energy that I've ever experienced for a game like that. I mean, people are always on their feet cheering. I mean, that's something that I wish people would have done for our games for whatever sport it is, like flag or soccer back then. But I mean, it's just a great experience, and like I can't imagine what the guys are feeling like down on the ice. It's just like it's just so cool to have all that energy from all the fans around you.
Yeah, it stinks that COVID happened when y'all won the Stanley Cup this past year, but But yeah, good year for Tampa sports, and yeah, the Lightning. They've always been a team that I respected. I'm an Avs fan, being from Colorado, so I don't mind the Lightning as much as I mind a lot of other teams. So yeah, that's awesome to have that electric experience and strive for it, and want to attain that. And then, kind of our last question on reflection, I'd say is there a memory or a series of events that you can pinpoint falling in love with the game of football or getting into football? Like you either watched like a game or something happened, you're like, yeah, I want to do that.
Let's see. I used to be, I'm not gonna say I'm like a bandwagon or anything, but I used to be like a huge Pats fan for NFL, and when they won the Super Bowl against the Seahawks, that was like a big turn on for me. That was just like, wow, like I want something like that. Like I want to play flag and like be able to go all the way to the state finals and like win in the last minute play. So yeah, that was definitely something that allowed me to go, okay, yeah, let's start doing this. Like let's just show everyone like what I'm capable of and what our team's capable of. And so yeah, that's something that was very memorable, and that's something that I would love to show on the field.
Yeah, that was a very exciting game and one of the better Super Bowls of the past decade for sure. So that's a good one to choose. You could see Simon and I kind of twitch a little bit when you said Pats fan, but we'll let it slide for today. But we'll get back to talking about Newsome, and like your team's flag football and how that season's going. But first, I'm going to pass it off to Simon to kind of talk about your game specifically.
Okay.
Yep. So just for context real quick, you got a Broncos fan in Cody over here, so they're used to taking those L's from the Patriots. And then you got a detached Steelers fan in me, which, we'll see this next season. But that's where we're at. Just for some context, just throwing that out there. But let's talk about your game. All right. So what was your reaction to our evaluation of your game?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, my dad was like, hey, you need to listen to this about the podcast. And I was like, yeah, of course. And I listened to it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like so insane. Like the exposure and like the constructive feedback that you guys gave me. Like I appreciate that so much. And I'm definitely willing to put all of that on the field, and hopefully I can improve off of that. But I just want to thank you guys again, because that was incredible.
Yeah, no, of course, anytime. And, we are looking to do more of, some girl football players around the country. I don't know if you saw this highlight or something like that, but Leah Paulette, she was on ESPN. She had that crazy run or something like that, and it was all over the place. Yeah. So we're trying to get, more playmakers like you and her on the show and get that exposure, because this is something that's been long overdue, if we're being completely honest. So
right.
Yeah. But kind of talking more about your game here, is there like, you did mention, the Patriots and all that and Tom Brady, but is there any like football player or I guess role model that you really model your game after when it comes to playing quarterback or safety?
I would have to say Tom Brady. I mean, ever since I started watching NFL, I'm pretty sure the very first game I watched was a Patriots game when he played for them, and I just focused on him the entire time. I mean, like whenever they were down a game, he never had any like negative thoughts or anything in his mind that would withdraw him from making any more mistakes. He always picked his head up. He had his teammates around him, and he would just make plays, and that really allowed him to be the GOAT, if you want to say that. But yeah, he's definitely a role model of mine when it comes to flag football. I mean, he's just like a big inspiration. Everything that he does, I've tried to learn. I obviously can't perfect it. There's definitely some things I need to work on. But yeah, he's definitely a huge role model of mine.
If it makes you feel any better, you've already exceeded him in athleticism, so You got that going for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no doubt there. But that's really interesting, actually. We see actually a lot of that in your game, just seeing you being able to break down defenses and moving from progression to progression. If I'm being completely honest, we got some quarterbacks here in Colorado, and not just Colorado. I shouldn't just say that because I feel like that's calling out some people a little bit too specifically there. But, just in the country that we've done breakdowns on that are one read guys, and you could tell. But you're definitely not, and so that's very evident in your game. And the crazy part is that you're a junior, and so you still have time to grow and continue to elevate to that next level, which is kind of insane here. But that was something that we definitely pointed out in your breakdown. So yeah, that's really interesting. But with that being said, what are, in your opinion, what are 2 to 3 qualities that really separate you from other players in the state or really even in the country?
I would definitely say decision making and looking down the field. Right when we get to the line after our play's called, I'm always like viewing the field like left to right, looking at our defense, looking how our offense is set up, and trying to pick out like little holes that I could possibly throw the ball. And then right after the ball snapped, I'm still like looking left to right, just trying to see if there's any free space out in front of me, and I'll just throw it. And if I don't really have the a really open space to throw to, and I have a rusher coming full speed at me, I need to get out of the pocket. Again, I'm always still looking downfield to see if there's anyone open that could possibly make, a big play. If not, then I'll just run the ball and just try and go from there.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, that awareness is super apparent when we watch you play. I don't think I mentioned this in the breakdown. It might have been like an Instagram post or like a Twitter post. I can't quite remember. But before we move on and talk about your season here, I kind of wanted to, give you a little bit more praise on your game and whatnot, because I don't even think I told Cody this, but I did say that, well, first off, I'm from Texas. I grew up in Dallas and all that, so I got to see some good quarterbacks coming up, specifically Kyler Murray. He was literally the city next door, and so if we wanted to go to the playoffs or go to the state championship, it would have had to been through him in Allen, Texas. And so that I was used to seeing, good quarterbacks on the come up. And really from the get-go, I knew this kid was special. Not only was he uber athletic and could pretty much do whatever he wanted, but, if there was a breakdown in the defense or if there was somebody missing an assignment or something like that, he would pick us apart and he would be surgical with it and just know, all right, I'm going to get you right here. And even then, there were a couple of different places that he would get us because their team was just more talented altogether. And I always knew that he'd probably be an NFL guy, at least a good college guy. And honestly, I kind of get that same feeling watching you. You have a lot of those same type of, intangibles, just being able to know, hey, this is what I got when this defense is rolling out this formation and whatnot. Here's what I'm going to do to pick it apart. And then in addition, you don't just stick to that. You have great reactionary time as well. And you find ways to extend the play, make bigger plays. And, we really haven't even talked about your physical talents. But, man, you're great just running and throwing it.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Go on. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, I was just saying, thank you. I really do appreciate that feedback.
Oh, yeah, of course. No problem. But, yeah, I just wanted to say all that. You have great arm talent and all that, because I know we did talk about kind of your mental game more. But, I mean, there's no doubt that you could definitely make a lot of these throws down the field, and I'm sure Cody would agree.
Thank you.
Of course.
Wholeheartedly. And I'm going to just go ahead and take the torch back from Simon here and turn it back to Newsom High School. And so far, y'all have had a pretty good season this spring. Taking a look at that, what do you think have been some keys to Newsom Wolves' success this season and your success to a further extent?
I would say our bond with one another. We definitely have a really strong relationship, all of us girls, even the coaches. We had a film session earlier this week, and just going over some film, and we had an additional presentation basically about, we have a little saying, it's called "We are greater than I." So we just talked about how there's no I in team, we're always there for each other. If someone's down, always pick them up. Don't ever give up. Always put your heart on the field. So yeah, that's really allowed us to be super successful this season. I mean, last night, unfortunately, we played Robinson, and that was our first loss of the season. We lost 22-18 at home. I think basically that game we let ourselves down. We could have come out with a win. We just didn't. We just didn't really play our best. We had some. We had a few mistakes here and there, but that really costed us. And it's unfortunate, but it's definitely a game that we're gonna learn a lot from, and we're just gonna take all of that. We're gonna set it aside, but we're gonna take everything that we learned and we're gonna apply it to our next game for next week, and then we'll go from there. We'll go to districts.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I noticed that too, and I'm glad that you brought it up because I was just about to ask kind of what is your mentality as what you need to do as the quarterback, as a kind of leader for this team heading forward after that loss, and what is your team's mentality following your first loss of the season? And like you said, that you're going to try and learn from it and get ready for districts, but what do you need to learn from this game, not only to compete in the next regular season game in districts, but to contend for a state title?
Yeah. Definitely, don't give up. And I saw there were some girls on our team, they made a mistake, whether or not it was, they didn't catch the ball, they didn't run the route as crisp, or defensively, they didn't get a flag pull. I always went up to them, I'm like, hey, just get it out of your head, you'll get it next game. Let's try and get a pick next game. Or not next game, sorry, next play. I was always trying to be there to have a positive mindset for them, just to keep going and just forget about the negative plays. And that really helped, and we had a lot of momentum. We scored with a couple seconds left in the first half. Robinson scored again, but we scored twice to make it 22-18. We had some negative plays. There was a ball that was snapped over my head, and it just happened to land right in the end zone for a safety. So, this momentum shifts like that can really cause us to fall apart. But, I was trying to be there to pick everyone's heads up, and you just be like, just keep going on. Don't give up. Let's just give it our all. There's still time left to make big plays. You never know how this game's going to end. So, yeah, I was just trying to be there for everyone.
Gotcha. So just, cleaning some things up, staying positive, I love that mindset a lot. I'm definitely a, short-term memory kind of a player when I played, in a short-term memory coach, where it's like, a mistake is made, is like, it doesn't matter, next snap. I love that mentality for sure, and I'm glad that you're bringing that to Newsom High School. As you progress through this season and prepare game by game, what are some things that that you need to improve on? What are some things that you need to improve on from game to game, and what are some things that you're going to focus on in the off season following this season?
After listening to your guys' feedback on the podcast, it's something that I have really been working on in this past week and the week before. Definitely ball handling. Whenever I take up on the run, it's kind of natural for me to just hold the ball in one hand, not have another hand, not have it tucked in. That's something I've definitely been working on in practice, tucking the ball in, making sure, if someone accidentally hits my hand, doesn't fall out and, the ball's dead right there. I could have gone some more positive yards. So that's something. You guys had mentioned footwork. My my footwork's kind of all over the place, to be honest. So that's something I've also been really working on and trying to improve. I enjoy this sport so much, so I really love time to improve on everything that I can, so that I can become a better player for not only myself but for my team as well.
Hey, we appreciate you taking our breakdown of you to heart and working on those things, and just improving, and those will help, more yards, and then obviously getting that footwork that's going to help your throwing overall and increase your arm power from the base up. So love to hear that you're focusing on those things. And I guess what are some resources that you're using to improve as a quarterback and to address those things? Is it kind of you, or is it, coaches, any facilities or anything like that?
I would definitely say our coaches. My dad's the offensive coordinator for our team, and he's always looking at film. He's always the one that's doing the stats, and he breaks down film very well, and he'll pinpoint some things out to me and be like, hey, look at this play, look at how you're you're throwing off your back foot, or how I could have seen a better option down the field that could have gotten us some more yards. Film is your best friend when it comes to flag football. That's really what's going to allow you to grow and fix your mistakes. So I would say that. And, your teammates too, they're always, they've always got feedback for you too. Just like, hey, like, I'm open on this play. Like, this defender's like playing back or whatever the situation might be. But I would say pretty much everyone and film as well. That's really helping me to improve my game on the field.
Yeah, that's, I would definitely say that there's a lot of football players and athletes out there that don't watch nearly enough film. So the fact that, you're watching film with your coach, with your dad, with your teammates, and just taking that feedback from as many resources as possible is going to make you a better player, and it's going to continue to help you improve. So I applaud that. And, I will admit, through Simon and through the Elite 11 is kind of where we first heard your name. So if you don't mind, we were kind of wondering, what was the experience like at the Elite 11?
Yeah, for sure. The Elite 11 was a phenomenal experience for me. I mean, you walk up, there's rival teams that are there with you, but they're also, I made friends with girls from Robinson, Alonzo, our rival teams, and we would talk during our drills and before we even went on the field. But no, it was a great environment. I mean, I definitely there were some good coaches out there giving me some feedback that I was like definitely willing to apply to my game. The boys were out there too, so we were all like showing them our skills. So one of the drills, we would have to throw to them in the end zone, and one of the girls threw a fantastic ball in the end zone, and they were all like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know a girl could do that. Like, that's insane." So yeah, definitely getting a lot of exposure, not only to coaches and my other football peers, but definitely to like all the guys and everyone that else was watching in the stands. It was just a great way to get our name out and to really show everyone what girls flag football is really about.
Yeah, that's awesome. And football players are football players. If you got it, then you got it, or if you're willing to put in the work, then you got it too. And so, I think it's awesome that Elite 11 had you guys out there. And honestly, these opportunities and this exposure that you get to experience is long overdue. And so, I think that everything that you're doing and everything that this generation of playmakers is doing in flag football is, monumental to the progression of something that's, been in the works for a very long time, and something that's, should have been out there for an even longer time. So I just wanted to applaud you for, definitely being a trailblazer and making the most of this, and capitalizing on opportunities that, y'all have deserved for way too long. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Simon, who's going to ask you more questions about recruitment and kind of your future in the sport of football.
Okay.
Yeah. So, real quick shout out to the Elite 11 once again, for giving y'all that platform and whatnot. Ironically enough, that week, actually, Cody and I were looking for some girl football players from around the country, and we found Kenzie, we found Alexa, because they're over in Nevada, and that was kind of the easier way of doing it. And then, literally that Saturday night, I want to say the Elite 11 announced that they're going to hold, a whole new group of quarterbacks over there, and we saw that it was y'all, and really we were keeping a really close eye on that whole Sunday, just looking for posts or something like that, so that we could figure out like, all right, who's at this thing, like who could we put on, because I'm not gonna lie, it's hard finding some of y'all with the film, and we were very lucky to find you and Haley Stanton as well. That's actually where we found both of y'all, and so huge shout out to them. And if you have any names, Devyn, that you want to give us, we could talk after this and we could put them on as well, because we would absolutely love to do that. But That being said, let's talk about kind of your recruitment and all that moving forward. So so far, what has your recruitment looked like for you? We do understand that you are a junior, and that some of these programs are having their first season this year, college programs that is, but have you had anybody come knocking, or any colleges offer or anything like that yet?
Yeah, I've had a couple so far. I had Midland, I had Thomas University. I mean, those two have really been, messaging me like, hey, you're such a great player. Like, we'd really love for you to play for us when you graduate. And I mean, to be honest with you, flag football is such a big part of my life. I honestly do not know what I would do without flag football. So I still have time to decide, but I'm on the fence as to whether or not I want to continue playing flag at a collegiate level, or if I want to really pursue my career at, a bigger university that allows me to, have a mindset for my future. But I don't know, to be honest with you, I'm just on the fence about that. But I mean, no matter where I go, I will play flag football, whether it's club or collegiate. I will play it.
Sounds good, and that's what we want to hear. As long as you're playing, because look, you're a heck of a talent, and we really think that you're a generational type for sure. But obviously you got to make the decision that's best for you, because like I just said, this is something that has kind of just jump started, and obviously COVID's a thing and all that, and so that's kind of throwing some wrenches in there as well. But with that being said, let's kind of move forward with this. So last year, obviously the NFL finally helped jumpstart about 15 different programs on the NAIA level. They've also been instrumental in helping out some other states, like Institute, like girls flag football. Alabama, I believe, was one of the most recent ones, and to be completely honest, a little bit surprising, not gonna lie, but that's big time for sure. And so either way, just moving forward, my bad, I got on a tangent there, but what are some things you are looking in, or what are some things you are looking for in a program if you do decide to play flag football at one of those universities that want you there and offered you?
I would definitely say having coaches that really care about the game. That's super important to me. I mean, the coaches that I have at Newsom, they take so much time out of their work schedule or whatever it is, and they'll go out there with us. They're going to do everything they can to make us a better team overall, and that's something that I really look at when trying to decide, where I want to go. So I would say that, and definitely, the players on the team as well. I want to have girls on the team that show leadership and also really care about the game. That's also a huge part to all of this.
Sounds good. Yeah, for sure. All great points over there. All right. So kind of swinging back to the high school level here, what are some goals that you still have for high school ball? Obviously, you have this season and the next season.
Last year, obviously, when COVID shut down everything, I had after our last game, probably about 1,100 yards on passing. And so this year I was trying to beat that within, the same amount of games, which I believe was like 7 or 8 games with the regular season. And yeah, I beat that by I think 200 or 300 yards. So that's something, and I'm going to keep on doing that. I mean, this year I had a goal set out for me to, try and not throw any, it's a really hard goal, but try and not throw any interceptions in any regular season game. But then again, mistakes happen, and some girls aren't going to run the most crisp routes, or I'm not going to be throwing the best ball. So an interception, it happens. And after I threw my first one, I was like, oh dang. So that's something I really want to try and do next year. Probably not for the whole regular season, but we'll strive for the first 5 games or so.
That's actually a very interesting goal, and not a bad one to have at all. That's not a bad goal to have at all. I'd rather have my players aim high than aim lower than they should be, and so that's a really good goal to have, and it's doable. It's just a lot of things have to go your way as well. Yeah. You know how it goes. So, yeah. But so now that we're kind of at the end of this interview here, is there anybody in particular who you'd like to mention who's been important to your academic or athletic career who'd you like to thank on the show? I know you did thank your dad and a couple players as well, but this is kind of where you could give shout outs if you'd like to.
Yeah, my dad being a really big impact for flag football for me. I mean, I started playing when I was 6, and he was always there on the sidelines, and he coached for a couple years, and then I played for middle school, and he was always there, and then high school flag, he started coaching, so he's really been a tremendous part of my flag football career. And also Sydney Stout, for quarterback for Robinson, is just a tremendous player. I mean, after the game last night, I went and talked to her, and we just said, good game and everything, but we were talking, and I'm just like, dang, you are such a good quarterback. I mean, seeing you just from Elite 11 and, on the field when, we're rivals and all we want to do is beat one another, she's an incredible player. I mean, her passes are immaculate. They're right on the money every time. She's always looking downfield. She has a really quick release, and, she will make defense pay. And, yeah, so I would say she's just a phenomenal player.
All right. We'll probably have to do a breakdown on her then. So we'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing it up. You're actually the first athlete that we've had who's mentioned, a rival of sorts that's, driven them competitively to improve and be better. So I appreciate, that shout out. I like that dynamic.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree. That is actually super cool. But lastly here, last question, but do you have any advice for up-and-coming middle school, high school, or aspiring football players?
I would say, I would definitely set goals for yourself for future seasons and try and strive for those goals. Look at film, look at any type of videos that are going to allow you to improve in any part of your game. I would say definitely you show leadership in your team, because after all, leadership is a huge, huge factor in any sports game, whether it be flag football or soccer, whatever the sport may be. That's going to really allow your team to look up to you and to play a better game and have a really successful season.
For sure, and that's great advice, honestly. A lot of our kiddos could use that advice, just being completely honest here. But good stuff altogether. So that'll wrap up this interview of the Playmakers Corner podcast. Make sure, first off, you check out that episode where we broke down Devyn Silvestri and 3 other queens of football, Alexa Manser, Kenzie Murdoch, and Haley Stanton. I believe that is episode 30. Is that right, Cody? I'm pretty sure it's episode 30. Yes, it is episode 30. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you check out Devyn's highlights and all that. Those are usually, those are usually linked somewhere in these bios and whatnot. And then obviously show us some love on all social media. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok as well, where we do show highlights there as well in smaller doses. So Devyn, once again, thank you so much for coming on. Just going to be honest with you, you are our first well, I guess maybe you're not the first girl to interview with us, but you're the first girl football player to interview with us, and that's big time, especially since you're so talented, and, we really appreciate you making the time for us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. I had a great time.
Yeah, of course. All right. Thank you for rocking with us, and make sure you check out the socials.